Alright, so I'm gonna try this again. I am try to use multiple channels here. So we'll see if it worked. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Owner financing versus rental property. I get asked all the time which one I like best. I have gone through the phases of my career of, so in 2003 and 4, everything I did was owner finance. In 2005, I was assigning properties, but then owner financing the purchaser. So it was an owner financing, but for investors. And then, I guess it was about 2005, 2006, started keeping more rental property, and then almost all rental property actually. And then, let me see if I can hit this button. I better stop, I'm gonna mess it up. I guess it was 2008, 2008, the market got bad. We had some tenants lose their jobs, and we were losing money a lot. So we started doing all the owner finance. Everything was just owner finance, owner finance, owner finance. And I mean, it worked out well, right? We were able to hang on to houses that we may have lost if they were rental property. We were able to get down payments, which was a source of cash at a time where cash was very scarce. But what it did the worst was when you owner finance a house, you kind of lock in the numbers, right? I mean, you set anchor, so to speak, and that anchor is one of those things that it may seem like a great idea, but what the effects of it during this last housing run-up have been that I did not get the benefit of all the appreciation on these houses. I talk about the house in Richardson a lot that we sold the note on a year or two ago. I can't remember. I think it was 18. So yeah, it's about a year ago. Thanks to Kristen and Amy. We sold that note, and at the time they owed us 80,000, something like that, and we only owed 20 or 30 on it. So we got paid off, got a nice little check, but the house right now is worth $280,000. So we, the people who spent all the advertising money, we, the people who went out and put personal debt on the house, we, the people that remodeled the house multiple times, because it was a rental at first, and then they moved out, and then we owner financed it. Yeah, we made money on the owner financing, but we ended up having to sell the note, because what you realize is that owner finance mortgages are a declining income stream with a declining asset base. What I mean by that is every month the occupant pays you less interest and more principal. Every month your note receivable is less because they paid principal. So the problem I have now at where I am at with a owner finance mortgage as a long-term investment strategy is that it's a declining income stream with a declining asset base. So that's my problem with owner financing. The rental property I like because I still have the same principal pay down with my underlying financing, and someone else is still paying it. In general, they pay about the same monthly revenue as the other. Now, I do have repair issues. I do have some vacancy issues that you don't have on owner financing, but that really only equates to about 10% of your annual income. So, vacancy and maintenance on my rentals eats up about 10% of my annual income. Well, if my annual income, let's just say it's $1,000 a month rent on a $100,000 house, right? So I'm going to lose $1,200 every year in rent, but I'm going to gain 2 to 3% of appreciation. So that 2 to 3% appreciation, right, is $2,000 to $3,000 the first year. The next year is $2,200. You see, and so on and so forth, and it compounds. And so the appreciation more than offsets the increase in your expense ratios. Problem, right? It takes more money to own rentals. You typically do need more money into a project. There's a lot of folks out there right now that are owner financing houses, and by the time they do their back-end financing and get everything taken care of, they're literally in the deal for next to nothing, often nothing, as they report. They probably have something in it, and they have time, they have advertising, they have, structuring, and, they have time in it, so they have something in it, but as far as capital, I see a lot of owner finance deals out there right now where the investor ends up with nothing in the deal because they're able to get a large enough down payment and a high enough refinance that it works out for them. Now, what happened is, so I've publicly said a lot of times, look, don't leave money on the table. Don't leave money on the table. Do your rentals, don't do owner financing. Within a couple of months ago, I posted that I had formed a new partnership buying owner-occupied mortgages with a partner named Scott Horn. Well, then what happened is I got a text from a guy that was like, hey man, I thought you said you weren't owner financing anymore. You changed your mind? What's the deal? And anyway, he called me today and said, hey, did I piss you off? Or, I didn't mean to upset you. I was like, you didn't upset me. What are you talking about? Well, it was funny because it's not funny, but it is. I mean, I get it, right? So people think that when I talk about, my preferences, when I talk about preferences, to me, preferences do not preclude me from other opportunities, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm an investor. I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm investing in someone's construction company this week because I like the guy and I like the business model. So, hear me out. The thing about me owner financing is we had these two mortgages. This lady called me to buy her house, and then she explained that they had mortgages on them. And by the time we really dug into it, it was about $120,000 worth of mortgages, and my first offer was $60,000. Well, then we look at all the paperwork, and it was really complicated, and she had done 10-year amortizations, and she had only done 2.9% interest rate. So, I mean, at that point, you're like, wow, there's just no, my numbers were off on my assumptions. So we lower the price to $30,000, and she said yes. Well, I mean, Lord, at that point, $120,000 worth of mortgages. I think the unpaid balance was 80 at that time. Hey, yeah, I'll give you 30 grand for that, because even at 0% interest, just the revenue stream will work out. So that opportunity presented itself, and I kicked in 15 grand, and Scott kicked in 15 grand, and we bought, basically the mortgages on 2 houses. So, I'm cool with that. Let me see. I'm reading. Goodwill make company. Yeah, it said new messages. So, and then, sure enough, I'm talking to my buddy Zach, and he says, hey, so you bought that house on Rupley? I said, yeah, I did. He goes, what are you gonna do with it? I think you overpaid. I said, yeah, I did. That's just me. I didn't know I was bidding against Zach, or I would have worked with him on it. I said, well, I'm probably gonna owner finance it. He goes, what are you talking about? Why? I thought you weren't gonna owner finance anymore. But the point is, with that house specifically, it's on the corner of Jupiter Road, which is a really busy street. it has some functional obsolescence about it. Like, it was originally a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. They took the garage, they converted it, and they made a bathroom and a bedroom in that garage. So layout wise, I don't really like it. It doesn't fit my long-term rental strategy. But as far as, you know, a good property, I mean, I think it's worth 170, 180, and I bought it for 100. I would probably have to spend, I don't know, I'd probably spend somewhere between 20 and 40,000, depending on if I was going for full retail or just rent ready. So what I did is I talked to Scott and Fernando, some friends of mine, and they both thought that I could owner finance it for 140. So I was like, well, yeah, that works for me. I mean, I'll definitely take 140. So, I mean, that's what I did. So I don't know if this thing's actually working or not. So I'm gonna go check my mail at my old office, and then I'm going to go check on that owner finance house, and then I'll be done for the day. So, man, I got sunburn. All right.